Hello there. This Epstein client list is a pathetic distraction, all full of associations and allegations. But where's the real proof? Have you been taken in by the Epstein client list hype? The first question I have is who is going to jail based on the evidence provided so far? The second question is where is the video evidence, the sex tapes? The press have alluded to them, but where are they? Without that, all we've got is allegations and innuendo. In short, diversion. What are we being diverted from? This supposed client list is nothing more than a distraction that is being allowed to see the air of day by the establishment to hide the true horror of what is really going on behind closed doors. The hideous things perpetrated by the rich, the powerful and the famous against our young. As far as I'm concerned, it's yet another case of look over there and not over here. Do you actually think the names of the most prolific and powerful perverts that are supposed to have been caught on tape by Epstein will ever be released? For some of the nastier amongst us, a terror that can be exercised over the rich and powerful is far too valuable to waste in a courtroom and a jail. And money is a godsend for those with deep pockets who can buy themselves out of trouble. This list is nothing more than a list of people associated with Epstein, designed to distract you away from the tapes that the authorities almost certainly hold, which could contain the damning evidence of the seedy underbelly of high society and the establishment. As horrific as the crimes committed by Epstein and some of his cohorts are, none of this touches on the massive issue of the trafficking of millions of youngsters. As depicted in the film Sound of Freedom, go watch it if you haven't already. The world is edging ever closer to the normalisation of the most distasteful acts imaginable, and I don't want even to utter its name. But the media has cooked up a frenzy about this list without asking the basic questions. Of course, there'll be a few names that will shock you, but none of this speaks of the true magnitude of a disgusting industry that now makes more money globally than the sale of illicit substances. A dead disabled scientist or pop star and a few big names on a list doesn't mean anything, but the tapes behind it all and hidden from us may very well do. Question: if such hard evidence existed regarding Donald Trump, for example, who it is claimed to be on this list, if such hard evidence existed against him, don't you think it would have been out there by now, regardless of his wealth? And why hasn't the whole lot of files been dumped in one go? Why are they being dribbled out over days and weeks? It's like a box set with a weak plot being slowly released. I've yet to see a sensational arrest based on this evidence. And we already know that many named are not being accused of doing anything wrong anyway. They just happen to have come across Epstein. It names names and embarrasses some people. But if all it does is that, then what's the point? But at least one female who is in the files seems to be following the sort of human rights approach taken by some in the UK, by claiming that if their name is released, they will be at risk of violence in their home country. And she can only be referred to as Doe 107, unless a judge goes against her claim within the next 30 days. Now all this seems perverse to me. Legally perverse, I mean. Just gather the evidence and arrest and put on trial. All this theatre is just meaningless. Or is it all guilt by association? You knew him. You shared the same space as him, therefore. You must all have known about it, etc., etc., etc. Then put up the proof. I fear we'll get to the end of this exercise and just have days of ticking off the same names with very few revelations, and then nothing. Now, this Jeffrey Epstein Ghislaine Maxwell thing has been going on for years, and what is there to show for it? If the stories are true, then there must be some very influential people out there helping to keep the lid clamped firmly on a lot of very seedy, foul and illegal stuff. And not just in the US either. Think UK royal family. Money, blackmail, and yes, threats of exposure or even violence must be flying about the place behind closed doors. And if this is the case, then one surmises that the US state establishment also has his fingers in this little pie right up to the elbows. Otherwise, as I keep saying, where is the evidence? Where are the arrests and court cases? If all the stories are true, why are so many people being protected from justice? Why are the kids being left unprotected yet again? It's like Rotherham in the UK all over again. Everyone knows, but no one does enough to even slow it down, let alone stamp it out. In the UK, it was fear of being labelled a racist. What's the excuse in the US? Money? Now, if there is real proof out there, I hope it comes out and those involved go down. I want to see a push to go after the real traffickers of the young and innocent. Now, Epstein and his crew may have serviced the wealthy and well-to-do, or some of them, but this sort of thing is not restricted to them. The wealthy and powerful are the ones who can do the most to protect themselves, but in the same vein, being the richest and most powerful also makes them vulnerable if their protection slips just for a moment. So I would hazard that there are many layers of Epsteins out there, and they should all be chased down. But maybe Epstein was just one trafficker servicing the top echelons. Now he's gone. Do you think it stopped? That would be like thinking you just nailed the only drug dealer in the neighbourhood and there'll never be any drug dealing ever again. Was it just that Epstein got careless and got caught out? What if there is still a rip-roaring trade going on with much smarter and more careful traffickers involved? Personally, I would bet there is, with a lot of very rich and powerful people still indulging. Maybe this Epstein Files saga is all about drip-feeding boredom about the subject into the public arena. Without any real outcomes, how long will the press keep putting all this on the front pages? How long before it dries up into a non-story? And after all the hype, if this story does dry up and does disappear in the days and weeks to come, it would tell me that this problem ranges much deeper and much wider than any of us could have imagined. Simple question: do you really think that the arrest and imprisonment of both Epstein and Maxwell stopped this whole repellent trade in its tracks? Really? No, it looks to me like we're being led down the garden path of, it's all history now, nothing new to see here. While more young people are subjected to the horrors of it, while those that indulge are allowed to continue to indulge. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the perpetrators are all chased down. But I won't be holding my breath.